very good morning. Good to have you with us. This is something that we'd all love to have, a shorter work week. There must be pros and cons to something of this nature. Let's talk about the pros, first of all.
Absolutely. No, thank you for having me, Tony. Look, the pros are basically centered around a work-life balance. And there have been some very interesting studies across the world around whether this would actually increase productivity or not. One of the studies happened at Microsoft in Japan, where they introduced a trial period of 5 weeks where about 2,300 employees were given every Friday off. And what they found was actually quite staggering. They found that productivity increased by almost 40%, and that there were massive savings on electricity, paper printing, and also a positive effect on employees taking less sick leave, less time off. And employees generally felt that they were quite happy with the arrangement.
I would suspect or expect that what would happen, because now you have shorter hours, is that as an employee I will stop doing all those silly, unproductive things that I would have done normally.
Well, for instance, in this Microsoft study that they did, this experiment, they reduced 1 hour meetings to half-an-hour meetings, for instance, and they encouraged people to conduct meetings via social media, or at least through technological means, instead of having to travel to or meet face-to-face. It is important to state, however, that this isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of approach. It might not be suitable for many industries.
The mining industry, for one.
Mining industry, service industries. We are a country with a lot of SMEs, and quite simply, they wouldn't necessarily be able to afford a 4-day work week. But in some instances, it may even include or improve production.
In a world where we're so worried about the environment, one of the key things is that it could actually reduce carbon emissions. Simple things like I would not be driving to work on Friday, hence I'm not using my vehicle.
Correct. Look, we are in a technological age. We are able to make use of technological means in order to work from home, to work from anywhere in the world, really. So the concept of an office might become an archaic concept in the near future. We don't know. But yes, it would definitely have an environmental effect.
And also from a health perspective as well, because I'm sitting in the office, I'm ordering takeaways and also so many things, and it's one of the, I was reading, is that one of the clear benefits is just that you start living a healthier life. You've got more time for family and that type of thing as well.
Correct. And I mean, you've got to look at the benefits that something like this would have for a company in terms of time off for sick leave. Employees who are generally happy at work are more fulfilled and productive. But then you've also got to look at the benefit for the country if something like this were to be implemented on the National Health Service whenever that comes into effect. That less stress, less illness. Okay,
so the problem would be, I suppose, from an employer's perspective, is how do I supervise somebody who says I'm sitting at home and I'm actually doing a bit of work and I'm being productive at home?
Correct. Now, the biggest problem that we have, and particularly in South Africa, is that we don't always have a standard or a measure in which to measure productivity. Traditionally, and this comes from the Industrial Revolution, is that productivity was usually measured through hours in, which equals output. But there is a general trend to now move towards an outcomes-based measure of productivity. So in the health industry, for instance, it used to be based on how many patients you can see. Now it is really determined on the effect of that treatment on the patient, and reduce the number of comebacks into the system to see if you have effectively treated that patient.
Look, I mean, you can look at the fact that how many hours an employer is in a workplace, but really at the end of the day is, it's up to the employer to get the best out of his employees, isn't it? No matter how long they're there, whether it's 2 hours or 10 hours.
Correct. If it's results-based or outcomes-based, then the amount of hours should really not really matter. If an employee really dedicates himself to the time that he is at work, knowing that he can go and spend time with his family and have the flexibility in his life to go and do all the other things that he needs to do, then perhaps that could be a good measure. But as I've mentioned before, this isn't a one-size-fits-all. You would have to look at the particular industry, you would have to look at your particular business, And of course, you've got the constraints of our Basic Conditions of Employment Act and the regulation of working time.
Yeah.
There is one important thing to mention, is that a shorter work week does not necessarily mean less hours. I mean, you could work for longer hours within the 4 days, and then have a 3-day weekend, for instance.
Yeah. So true, very true. Interesting stuff. Well, look, for some of us, I hope we have a 4-day work week. I think it has to be the way to go. There's computers, we're all online. Things have to be easier. Thank you so much, Michael Yates, Employment Practice Labour Law Expert from Cliff Decker Hoffmeyer.
Thank you very much.